Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this joint webinar between Climate Farm Demo and Climate Smart Advisors project. My name is Benoît Rouillé. I'm working at the French Livestock Institute in the climate unit, and I'm the thematic leader in both projects on feed additives for methane reduction. We already organized several webinars on that topic, from general information to more target-based information like pasture last time. And today we are here to talk about testimonials from dairy industry on how they promote the use of feed additive to reduce methane emissions and thus reduce carbon footprint of milk. First of all, some very general information. You have a chat where you can ask your question. So feel free to ask your question, and we will have a time of question and answers after the two presentations. And also, if you have any question on how to use Click Meeting, you have all this information on this slide about the browser, about the sound problem, display, the chat, as I mentioned. You will also find all this information in the public chat if needed. If you have any difficulty, you can write a message directly in the chat to Susanna. You can use the @ Susanna. And the very last information is that the presentation and the recording will be available soon on the internet and specifically on the YouTube channel of Climate Farm Demo. So once again, I would like to welcome all of you, and our first speaker is Benigna von Ballmoos, from Switzerland, and she's going to talk about her experience in reducing methane emissions using feed additives. Benigna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Benoît. So reducing enteric methane is one of the most efficient ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in dairy production. My name is Benigna von Ballmoos, and I work as a project manager for the mooh cooperative. Let me start with a brief introduction who we are, and then move straight into the topic of reducing enteric methane using a feed additive. So the mooh cooperative is Switzerland's leading independent dairy cooperative. We try to secure the best market options for our dairy farmers. We do so by marketing their milk responsibly at the highest price possible, by creating added value through alternative channels such as projects like the one I'm talking about today, or by managing and processing seasonal milk surpluses, also to stabilize the milk price for our members. In our cooperative, we are around 3,500 farmers with approximately 120,000 dairy cows. The cows produce an average of 1.5 million kilos of milk per day. To put that number into a relation, that's around 20% of Switzerland's total milk production. We then sell the raw milk to different processors. We have around 60, and it's like from local small cheese factories to bigger well-known companies, for example, Nestle or Emmy. All in all, we're quite a small company based in Zurich with only 28 employees. No, we do have farmers all across Switzerland, so starting from the Lake of Geneva in the west and then all the way to the Lake of Constance in the northeast of the country, bordering Austria and Germany, and also further down into the mountainy areas of the southeast. The different colors you can see in the map, they just stand for different production methods, so such as organic production or just conventional milk production. Let me jump straight to the topic and start with the question why methane matters in dairy production. As you all know, cows emit methane during digestion, and most of the methane comes from the rumen, so the first stomach of the cows, where 95% of the methane is emitted into the atmosphere. If you look at the greenhouse gas emission of an individual dairy farm, we can see that almost or around half of the emissions are caused by CH4, so by methane. That means we have a huge potential in reducing greenhouse gas emissions by cutting methane. It is also the fastest and most scalable way to reduce the emissions in dairy. And one way to do so is to use feed additives. in 2022, we at the mooh cooperative set up a project, a VCS project. VCS stands for Verified Carbon Standard, and which is a standard from Verra. And so the project goes under the name Reduction of Methane Emissions in the Swiss Dairy Sector, and was set up under the methodology VM0041 for feed additives. And just in a nutshell, we're using Agolin, mix it into mineral feed, feed it to the dairy cows, and thus reduce methane emissions. So the project I'm talking about creates value by converting methane reductions into certified carbon credits that we then sell on the market for voluntary carbon credits. So how does Agolin work and what is it? So Agolin is a blend of essential oils, and feeding it to dairy cows leads to changes in the microbial composition of the rumen, and thus to a reduction of methane emissions. The impact we have with Agolin in our project, we calculate with minus 8.8%. Of course, that varies depending on different factors, but in Verra project, the way it works is that you need at least like 5 peer-reviewed case studies and then estimate a conservative value in terms of reduction. So it could be a bit higher than that, but that's the conservative value we use to calculate the emission reduction. Application is 1 gram per cow and day, so not a lot of feed, but it's mixed into mineral feed, and so then it's more than that, not just that gram, but that's how it is applied to the dairy cows. So how do we make the project work? Well, on the one hand, we have to make it as simple as possible for the farmers, but on the other hand, we also have to fulfill credibility for the market to be able to sell the emission reduction. So how did we set it up for the farmers? For the farmers, what we did is that we decided to set up contracts with all the different feed mills. This means that the farmers, they can buy their mineral feed from their place they're used to and also stick to the mineral feed they were using before. This works because the feed mills, they mixed the Agolin into existing mineral feed mixtures, but also into individual mixtures the farmers use. So for the farmers, there is not a big change in joining the project in terms of feeding. The feed mills furthermore make sure the dosage of 1 gram per cow and day is met. So if there is a mineral feed with a feeding recommendation of 100 grams per cow and day, the Agolin concentration in that feed mix is 1%. So then it equals to 1 gram per cow and day. What we also did is to make it as easy as possible to sign up for the project. So the registration and also the upload of the document or the purchases is as easy as possible. Just to mention, the project is not mandatory. So it's important for us that we don't push the farmers into a certain direction, but that they can join or not join voluntarily. So what we did to get all the necessary data, we used our existing platform that we have, an intranet system that the farmers are already familiar with. So normally, or before the project started, they saw data about their milk, like milk quantity, milk quality, also milk payments, milk price, information about the market, many things already on that platform. And what we did was just add a new layer for the project that we set up. So there the farmers can register, give us all the necessary information, and also for each purchase upload the receipt and all the information that is needed to be able to calculate the emission reduction. Also outside of that, we're trying to provide full support. So if there are any questions from the farmers, it's always easy to reach us and we're happy to help. We manage the onboarding, we manage the data collection, the documentation, and then together with our partner South Pole, we ensure that the monitoring and the verification goes smoothly, so that all the reports we need to write every year and the calculations that need to be done to turn all of the emission reductions into carbon credits. We work together with South Pole, and we do have a lot of mechanism to make sure that the data is correct, that we check the data multiple times. South Pole checks them, and also a third-party auditor checks them again before it gets handed to Verra, where there is another another check just to make sure that everything we state that we have reduced really got reduced and our carbon credits are credible for the market. That's also the reason why we decided to use a trusted standard, the verified carbon standard, which is, as I mentioned, a standard from Verra, which is globally known. So let me explain the whole project in just one slide. So when we start with the milk producer on the top left of the slide, the milk producer buys mineral feed their Agolin is mixed into. They then feed it to their dairy cows, which leads to a reduction of methane emissions. They sign up for the project, they upload the purchase receipts and other information about the purchase, like quantities, what mineral feed they were using, because we know in the background the Agolin concentration of all the mineral feeds, also for how many cows were fed with the mineral feed, what type of cows, like is it just the lactating ones or also the dry ones, and so on. And with all that information once a year, we calculate the emission reduction for each individual farm, but also in total, and write the necessary reports, have everything audited, and then in the end we're there that we generate carbon credits that, as I probably already mentioned, we sell on the voluntary carbon market. All the money we make from the sales of the credits flows back to the producers or to the participating dairy farms. Some key metrics about the project. At the moment, we have around 500 participating farms, which is around 20,000 cows. So it's an average of 40 cows per farm, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's higher than the average in Switzerland. We have contracts with 34 feed mills, so it's kind of all the bigger feed mills in Switzerland, also some smaller ones. And in case a new one wants to join the project, of course, they can at any time. And what impact do we have? Well, since 2022, that was our first project year, we've already reduced the emissions by 22,500 tons of CO2 equivalent, which calculates to an average annual reduction of around 7,500 tons of CO2 equivalent. So why did we set up the project the way we did, and why would the farmers participate? Was on the first slide, we're from farmers for the farmers, so everything we do, we want the farmers to benefit. So first of all, of course, there's an economic incentive. So they get paid 100 Swiss francs per ton of CO2 equivalent reduced. If we get to sell the credits to an even higher price than that, then the surplus gets distributed to all the farms in the cooperative, not just the ones that participate in the project. Also with the project, we make sure that we have a certain risk pooling, so there is no financial exposure of an individual farm, and we give them the opportunity for climate leadership to do something good for the climate, because there is also a lot of intrinsic motivation among our farmers. Besides, we have many additional benefits. For example, visibility. We provide a platform where the farmers can show what they do good, and that they take responsibility. And often the farmers are a bit a scapegoat of society because of all the emissions. So I think it's really important to show what we're doing when we're doing good things, to really talk about it. Now, one slide about the market side, just to include that also in the presentation. So on the voluntary carbon market, it's quite easy how it works. One carbon credit corresponds to 1 ton of CO2 equivalent reduced. And so the carbon credits, we sell them not just in the value chain, but mostly outside of it. So any sustainability-driven company can purchase our carbon credits. So it can be a bank, can be an online shop, can be any type of company. And we market the companies under a different name, not the one that is in the Verra registry, because that one's quite technical. So we market it under the name Bianca, the climate project, a protection project of the Swiss dairy industry. That was already my last slide. I thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take your questions or hearing your thoughts. I heard that we're doing that at the end, so I'll just hand over to Simon, but feel free to leave the questions in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them after. Thank you.
So thank you for this very interesting testimony first, coming from Switzerland. And now I give the microphone to Simon for a French experience.
Maybe a bit more broader than French experience, Benoît. You will see.
Simon, sorry, because we work together in France. Sorry about that.
So thanks a lot, Benigna, for your presentation. So I have already a few questions for you at the end. I'm Simon Bonnet. I'm the global milk purchase director at Bel. So in charge of milk supply in North America, Europe and Middle East for Bel. So just for you to know, so Bel, we are a private French company and we produce, I'm sure you all know the brand we are producing, and you all already tasted this product with the Laughing Cow, Boursin, Kiri or Baby Bel, and even fruit pouch with a Go-Go Squeeze or Pom Pot in France. So why we are talking about so much about methane at Bel? So maybe just a few data. So here you have the 2023 Bel Global Carbon Footprint. So quite, so yes, we can see it. So you can see that at Bel we are about 4 million tons of CO2 equivalent per year emitted. And scope 1 and 2, so what's happening in our factory, it's about 3%. And outside of this factory, upfront, upstream or downstream, it's 97%. And if we look at the split of this 97%, we could see that 62% is coming from the raw material. So what's happening with our farmers partners? 35 coming from raw milk we are purchasing to produce Baby Bel, for example, and 21% coming from other dairy raw material we may purchase, like butter, skim milk powder, cheeses to produce the Laughing Cow, for example. So for us, we're engaged in the Paris Agreement. So for us, if we want to tackle the carbon footprint mitigation and be able to reach our targets, it's key to tackle GHG emission at farm level. And why methane is because methane, so here you have it. So methane, it represents about 29% of total Bel greenhouse gas emission. So it's key for us. So since 2 years, we are engaged with the US NGO Environmental Defense Fund about methane in the Dairy Methane Action Alliance. And in this Dairy Methane Action Alliance, we committed to release our methane footprint for 2023. You can see that our methane footprint, it's about 4,700 tons of methane, so huge. And so it represents 29% of our global Bel GHG emission. So for Bel, if we want to reach our targets, it's key to be able to address this topic of methane mitigation, especially about enteric methane. So we can see that if we have the split in between the manure and slurry management and enteric methane, it's about 80% for enteric methane and 20% about manure management. So since many years, Bel is engaged and committed to reduce its methane footprint. What we have started first, so we went also with feeding additives. So we have started with the product from DSM Bovaer. So the first, what we did is before using Bovaer, we did the first trial in Slovakia. So we are in the summer 2022, and the purpose of this trial was really not to see if Bovaer has a positive impact on methane mitigation. We have already many studies proving it. Really, it was about the feasibility for the farmer to give Bovaer in the good quantity to the cows, and also to see if there is no negative impact on the milk. So we did a test, a pilot on 2 farms. The first farm was about 300 milk cows. The second one was about 400 milking cows during 8 weeks during the summer. And so the farmer had to mix the Bovaer with the total ration mixed, and was giving to the cow. So in terms of result, we have a very good acceptance for the farmer because no change for him. He used Bovaer as a mineral to mix with the ration. On our side, we saw no impact on milk quality, neither quantity, no impact on farmer management, and no impact on animal welfare. And when we conducted the CFT, because on the Cool Farm tool, which is a tool from Cool Farm Alliance to perform a carbon diagnostic at the farm level on the dairy workshop, we were able to see that on 1 year, the farm number 1 would have saved 150 tons of CO2 equivalent, and the second farm 200 tons of CO2 equivalent. So it was very positive in Slovakia, and so we've decided to deploy Bovaer in Slovakia. So, sorry, I'm not still used to click meeting, looking for the button. And so we launched Bovaer. So maybe a bit complicated here, but so we launched Bovaer in Slovakia. So yeah, so it's not October, it's May 24. So today we have about 40% of the milk which is produced with milk coming from cows fed with Bovaer. Our objective is to reach 60% by the end of 2025. How does it work? We compensate the overcost of Bovaer to the farmer. And so the farmer is going to engage with us using Bovaer. We will compensate him with 1 cent per liter of milk, 1 cent euro per liter of milk, and he will each month he will send us the invoice of the animal feeding supplier to prove that he's using Bovaer. And through the CFT, the Cool Farm tool, we are able to define which quantity of methane has been reduced in Slovakia. So you could maybe ask me why 60%, only 60%, and not 100% of the farmer in Slovakia. So Bovaer is a really good solution when you have quite high productive farms. But Bovaer is just one of the levers we can activate at farm level. And before using Bovaer, we are working a lot on productivity, on reducing unproductive animals, on reducing first age calving, and so on. So we are using Bovaer at farm, or recommending Bovaer at farm when already the levers have been activated. So that's why today we are 60%, and with the 40% of the other farm, we are working on other level with them. So we did it in Slovakia, in France. So indeed, with Benoît, we had also a trial. It was winter 2023. During 2 months in 5 farms, the same objective, to see the feasibility of Bovaer for the farmer, to give Bovaer, to provide Bovaer to the cows. So we have a very good result. If you want, the Idele has published a monography, so kind of 4 pages to explain the methodologies, the results. The impact was from 29 to 42% of methane reduction, so quite a good impact. And so in collaboration with our farmer organization, we decided to deploy it in France from the 1st of July 2024. To be totally transparent with you, it was not so successful at the beginning as it was in Slovakia. So today we have about, I would say, 20 farmers using Bovaer in France on a total of more than 600 farms. Why? First, because when the cows are outside, Bovaer is not the best solution, because Bovaer has to be fed to the cow every 4 hours. So when you have a grazing, it's not a good solution. So we are still waiting for a slow releasing form from Bovaer. We could resolve this issue. And also a lot of questions of the farmer about using Bovaer, because we were the first one in France to launch this at large scale. We review the program, and so in 2025 we have launched a new carbon program in France with our farmer organization. And so here we have beyond Bovaer, we are also so here you have the new carbon program. Maybe just a few words. So we have 8 levels the farmer could choose. So the farmer could tick which lever he would like to activate, and in function of the lever, he will get an incentive. And so we have 3 levers directly linked to methane. So the farmer could choose to feed the cows with linseed, which has a positive impact on productivity, animal welfare, but also on methane mitigation. So with linseed, we are in between 8 to 10% of methane reduction. We also keep deploying Bovaer, so with the same incentive. And the big news, every month the farmer could receive his methane emission through the analysis of unsaturated fatty acids of the milk. We are able to determine the methane emission of the cow. So really quite a complete plan, I would say, because the farmer is able to see the methane emitted by the cow every month. So a lot of knowledge, acculturation, I would say, for the farmer about methane. And after, he could activate 2 solutions, linseed or Bovaer, to reduce it. And so if he reduce, he will be able to get more money. So here we are in France. The big news is in US, we have launched Bovaer last week with Landolex, US cooperative, and we will a farm from Dairy Farmer of America will follow next week. So in US, you have a quite different mechanism compared with Europe. So Bel is going to make an agreement with a cooperative supplying milk for our factory, so Dairy Farmer of America and Landolex. In US, it's not DSM, but Elanco, which has the patent for the distribution patent for Bovaer, which is going to provide Bovaer to the farmer. ASEAN, it's a company who is going to calculate the carbon reduction, generate carbon credit, and after we will purchase this carbon credit. So Bel is going to pay for part for ASEAN to work on that, and pay the farmer to receive the carbon credit. And so everything is validated and certified according to the GHG protocol. So quite a different way to do it, but as effective, especially in US, where you have big farms with high productivity of the cows. So it's really a level which is really relevant for this kind of farms. So we spoke about Bovaer, we spoke about linseed, but also we are keep doing a watch out about what could happen in the next. As Benigna, we have seen Agolin. So Agolin, we have seen it. So we know that a few farmers, for example, in France, are using Agolin. We are also looking at many innovative solution, disruptive solution. So I'm sure you have all heard about a seaweed extract. So you have a lot of startups working on seaweed extract in North America, especially in California, in Hawaii. Also on the other part of on the other side of the earth, in Australia and New Zealand. So we keep looking at it. So they are telling that in terms of methane reduction, you could have even a higher methane reduction, but still a lot of question about safety for the animals, and also about real effect on methane mitigation. But for us, at least, very important to keep being on watch on what could be the next solution if tomorrow we could reduce even more. And that's it. Thanks a lot. Happy to answer all the questions. Benoît,
Thank you,
I think
Simon.
you're going to moderate the questions. Perfect.
There are lots of questions, so I'm happy we have now 20 minutes time to answer everything for both of you. Maybe just to start, we do have a practical question about grazing or feeding animal in barns. You already answered, Simon, about how to use Bovar, because you said that the cow has to eat every 4 hours, so it's not well adapted to pasture. I know from my previous webinar in this project that some people from Ireland in Teagasc are testing options to feed the animals during the grazing time, but it's not as effective as fed all day long.
Exactly.
Benigna, what is the point on Agolin here? Is it adapted to grazing cows?
Yeah, we don't really have that issue that it should be fed constantly, but only like once a day. And usually grazing cows, they also get mineral feed every day. So we don't really have that problem. Of course, if they're just grazing and not receiving any mineral feed, so no Agolin, then we don't have an effect. But because the mechanism on how it works, how it leads to those changes in the rumen is different. So it's sufficient to just feed it once a day. So yeah, especially in Switzerland, that's very important because yeah, we do have TMR farms as well, but we mostly have farms that graze their cows a lot, especially during summer. So that it's very important for us to have a feed additive that also works when the cows only receive it once a day.
Okay, interesting, because here we have a difference between the two options we mentioned here in these testimonials. And another question for both of you, what are the impacts on milk production, like milk yields, milk quality, fat and protein content? Do you have these informations? Who starts?
So easy for me. So at least on Bovaer, we have seen that there is neither positive nor negative impact on milk quality or productivity of the cow. So with more than 18 months of use of Bovaer in Slovakia, at least, we have seen anything. Neither positive impact on animal welfare. So I know that a few studies are suggesting that it could have a positive impact on fat, but we have not seen it yet. And maybe linseed, when you are using linseed, in this case, you have a lower methane reduction. But indeed, many studies are showing a positive impact on animal welfare, especially on reproduction and on productivity of the cow.
Yeah, with Agolin, there is some studies that show a slight improvement in the feed efficiency, and so that you can produce as much milk with less feed or increase the milk yield with the same amount of feed. but on the farms we haven't really seen this effect. I think it's just not significant enough to notice, because the farms are no labs or no scientific places, so the amount of feed the farmers provide, usually also when you have 40 cows on a farm, you don't really notice a difference. So we didn't see any difference there in the project, and the same with milk quality. We didn't notice any changes. But I've heard of a different project, and they say that they have improvements in the cell count. But as for our project, we didn't really see any changes in terms of milk quality or quantity.
Okay, great. So I think it's pretty clear for everyone now. We do have some questions around economical issues, and especially what is the share between the interest through carbon credits or maybe through premium price paid by processors? Can you explain how you work on these two issues about euros or CHF? Benigna, you want to start?
Well, in our project, we don't have, at the moment, we don't have a surplus in the milk price that we receive from the processors. So everything, or all the emission reductions go through carbon credits, and then outside the value chain would be great to work with a processor and to work with an increased milk price. But at the moment, we don't have any projects there.
So maybe here a difference, because really we are pushing for incentive on the milk price on our side, and we keep the reduction in our value chain, because we are able to conduct a carbon footprint at farm level. So it's a deal with our farmer. You are using Bovaer, we are paying for it, and we are benefiting of the carbon reduction.
Okay, thank you once again for this clear answer. Another part of the question is about methodology and tools. What are the tools you use to determine the environmental benefits associated to the use of these additives? And is the carbon footprint of this additive taken into account in the whole process?
So on our side, the Bovaer is included in the Cool Farm tool, which is a carbon diagnostic we can use. So it has been included and recognized in Cool Farm tool. So in Slovakia today, we are able to see the benefit of Bovaer use in our global carbon footprint. In France, there is a different tool, which is CAP2ER, so CAP2ER. So we are working, or DSM is working to include Bovaer in this tool. I know Benoît, it's going to be soon. I hope.
Yes.
But it should be. So for the time being, we are not able to see the benefit of Bovaer use in France, but it will be soon. And maybe in US, so with the previous question, it's a bit different in US. As I said, in US, we are going to generate a carbon credit, and so we are purchasing the carbon credit. So by contract, the farmer has to sell us the carbon credit he's going to generate with the use of Bovaer. And so we will use it to compensate our carbon footprint.
And for us, in this project, we don't work with a tool to calculate all the emissions on a farm, but we follow strictly the methodology of Verra, the VM041 for feed additives, and there we work with an emission reduction factor. So as I already explained, we used peer-reviewed case study when we developed the project. So the PDD, so the project development document, and there you have to show like why you are using a certain emission reduction factor based on local parameters such as cow breeds or feeding regimes. And so that's what we're using here and not working with something like Groupe Bel or Cool Farm Tool. So it works a bit differently. The other things we use mostly for insetting projects or for different projects, but for that one, we really just strictly follow the methodology as it is.
And on this issue or topic about tools and methodology, for both of you, what is the average emission reduction performance per capita and per year? You had one slide about that, Benigna. Can you remind the data?
I think I didn't put it on the slide. I only had the 7,500 tons on average per year, but per cow, I assume the question is per cow and year. And here it depends on the dry matter intake, so on the fat content and the energy content of the feed. So it varies a bit for each farm, but yeah, it's between 300 and 500 kilograms per cow and year, so like less than half a ton of CO2 equivalent.
Okay.
Yeah, and for Bover, if we compare this with this number, so in Slovakia we have more data. We are in between 1.2 and 1.5 ton of CO2 equivalent per year per cow.
Thanks. And I think we have another big number of questions about perception by the consumers, about the way you address these issues, because especially for Bover, we had some kind of bad buzz last year in the UK, and there's a lot of questions in the chat. I will not share all of them, but what is your view on the reputational risk of using this kind of additive? The question is for both of you.
So let's start with the most complicated one, I think, Bover. So definitely we had a very bad buzz in UK at the end of last year or just before Christmas time, when Arla and Tesco announced that they are going to deploy a Bover in UK. So for us, it doesn't change at all our strategy to use Bover. Maybe it uses the way we are going to communicate about it, to be a bit more cautious, to be honest, and to be totally transparent. Anyway, we don't say on our product, we don't display on our packaging that we are using Bover or either we are a low carbon baby bell, I would say, if I say it like that. Today, our consumers they are looking for good product for good price. Unfortunately, they are not choosing the product according to the carbon footprint of the product. It's what we feel either in Europe or North America. So we are convinced that we need to reduce our carbon footprint at global level as a company. We are convinced that Bover today is a solution among other solutions we have, of course. We are convinced that we can explain to key external stakeholders, either authorities, NGOs, or local consumer association, what we are doing, and we are totally transparent that we are using Bover. So on our website you can see it, but we are not going to be offensive in terms of communication about it. And so now, since the last bad buzz of December, we are much more cautious and we are monitoring everything we do, not only about Bover, to be honest, what we do about communication related with cows, related with animal welfare, related with low carbon.
Yeah, in my experience, I think that it is important to not just use a feed additive, but to also implement other measures. I think there is no way around feed additives because there is such an efficient measure to reduce methane or to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in dairies in general. And then the question about what feed additive to use. My experience, some of the processors are a bit more cautious after what happened in the UK with using Bover. But I do think, yeah, it's such a good product, such an efficient product to reduce methane emissions that, but I also feel like some consumers, they don't want it to be used in their milk. That's true, but I think in general it will be continuously be used. And for us, we are working with Agolin. Yes, it's all natural. It's a different approach. And also when we started in 2021, Bover wasn't authorized for use in animal feed in Europe or in Switzerland, so it wasn't really an option for us. And now it's not. We're not just using Agolin because we are completely against Bover or other feed additives, but just when we started the project, that was the only one that was available. And now I think we're happy that we're using Agolin, but as I said, it is possible that in future projects we'll also use other feed additives.
Well, and maybe Benoît, just to complete, also we have the perception of the farmer, which is for me as far as maybe the most important. And here you have a farmer, they don't want to use Bover because it's new, it's chemical in a way. Other they are open to do so. So for us, it's very important not to force anyone to use it. We are convinced that it's safe for the animal and for the consumers. And it's, I think Benigna say it's one solution among others. And so we have many solutions. Maybe Bover is really effective, of course, but it's quite expensive too.
Yeah, I think price is one thing, and maybe also what you mentioned in your presentation that at the moment the slow release formula is not here yet, so it only really works for the farms where the cows, where it is possible to continuously feed the cows with Bover, which, for example, in Switzerland, we don't have that many farms that are organized like that. So I think at the moment that's maybe also a reason why it's not more used in Switzerland.
Well, thank you for this not easy question to both of you. I think it's now time to end this webinar. So I would like to deeply and warmly thank you, both of you, Benigna and Simon, for your testimonials, because it's really important to share this information and your experiences with all the participants to both Project Climate Farm Demo and Climate Smart Advisors. So big applause for you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It was really a pleasure. And for all the participants, please do not leave us, because we will give you the opportunity to evaluate this webinar through only 3 questions. And you will also have the opportunity to tell us what you want as topic for the future webinars. So please feel free to make your proposals. I will do my best to satisfy you. And for all of you, once again, thanks for attending this webinar. And I wish you a nice day.